I seriously mean this. Undead Murder Farce, or Undead Girl Murder Farce, is seriously a must-watch, and I think guaranteed the dark horse for me of this anime season. I said it last week, I thought it was special with episode 1, but episode 2 gives me a better idea of what they're trying to go for. And basically, the vibe I got from this episode, to sum it up, especially for anyone who maybe hasn't watched it, or maybe haven't even tried the anime yet, they're like, what the hell is this show? It kind of looks interesting, but I don't know what it is. The vibe I got from episode 2 is it's almost like, imagine, okay, you have a severed talking head who's in a birdcage. You have this man Suguru who basically is the biggest clown and troll, but kind of lovable hater in a way. I mean, the way he screws over some people just trying to not pay the bar tab, basically, in this case, the carriage ride, is very charming and fun. But it's almost a Sherlock Holmes style anime without being Sherlock Holmes. And we see a lot of Holmes anime, so I'm not trying to really, milk that horse to death like anime has done recently. But in a weird way, it's like, what if Watson and Holmes were like a will they, won't they couple, but one of them's a severed head? And they go around this world investigating mysteries, and in this case, we're trying to solve a murder that happened to a vampire, which is a fun hook. But the thing that's really special about this show is the fact that it feels so full of life in a very interesting way. So we've seen plenty of anime where there's vampires, there's werewolves, there's monsters, but I love the idea of having a world that's so chock full of all these mysteries and monster stories that we've known from our own life. Imagine if that was actually a part of a seemingly normal environment, but humans were aware of it, and as we see near the start of this episode, we have this like vampire butler who's walking through a swarm of reporters who are just like, why should we accept you here? Like, why should the people not be scared? And they're like, well, we have a pact that we won't drink human blood. It immediately just sucks you in and has me saying, not only is this well produced, it has a very charming vibe that feels different than anything I've seen this season, but most importantly, it feels like rather than going the route of, oh, we're just throwing vampires and werewolves and maybe even gargoyles will come to life at some point, just so we can have a big action piece. Instead, what if we just had a weird world where monsters were just as important than the average human, and what type of mysteries could we experience as we have a story hook about a man trying to help a severed head find her body, and in doing so, potentially curing him of the disease that he kind of has that's going to take over his mind. It's really hard to pinpoint specific moments and sell people, but from minute 1 to the end, they just continuously hooked me in, from good comedy to mystery to atmosphere and the banter between the central three. This show is actually incredible. Now, full live reaction to episode 2 is available on my Patreon if you would like to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch today's very good episodes over there if you're interested. And depending on how these videos do, I might have to cut this one off of the review upload for the channel, so just know that no matter what, Patreon, we will have that covered over there. But if you do want to see more, get this video doing well. Drop a comment, drop a like, because I want to cover stuff like this. It's different, it's unique, and honestly, it's a shame that the anime community only wants you to talk about the Demon Slayers or the Mushoku Tenseis of a season. While I love those shows, it's like, I really look at a show like this and wonder, why is this one not popping off? It's not even ugly. Like, in a weird way, this kind of reminds me of Mars Red, but I will say Mars Red, which was a good show, it was a dry show. There was a lot of slow burn, and there was a lot of times where I could see people getting bored, and even for myself, it wasn't 10 out of 10 captivating every single week. But a show like this, I feel like you're always having fun. They start this episode off with our characters, they're hitching a ride, and the guy comes out of his carriage, he's like, alright, that will be 3 of these coins, or whatever the hell he says, right? And immediately, you just have this fun back and forth banter with our man, who's basically like, I like to return the carriage. And I'm like, bro, you can't return a cart ride. Like, he's like, okay, well, in that case, how about you wait here, give us a ride back when we're done, and that will be the return. He bullshitted this man so hard that he was like, yeah, wait, I guess that's right. If it wasn't for Aya, the severed head, being like, bro, you deserve so much better, like, your wife's horrible, you got drinking problems, like, you just have a shitty life, don't let this man fool you, he would have had a 0 payday and would have had to haul their asses back if no vampire hunters out there killed him in the process. and then seeing the poor bastard have to run into the Lord's mansion being like, please pay me, my lord, I need my money. I'm like, bruh. That dynamic in general just felt so weird and normally would be out of place in a show like this. But the dynamic with this trio, a severed head, her maid, and a man who just feels like a prankster, but honestly, it's kind of hilarious because he's kind of become her unofficial body. So when they're investigating the murder of the wife, basically, she ends up having 7 points that she wants to make about why things don't make sense. And what I really like is I'm a sucker for when anime answers the questions that I have watching something, but not the questions of like, who done it? But the simple things. He's holding a birdcage with her head and he has a hand. Okay, start counting up. Okay, but what happens once he gets to 6? It's not like he could start doing this. I mean, eventually he would probably drop the birdcage. It's nothing important and most people won't care. But when he's like, hey ma'am, what am I supposed to do? I only have one hand. Stick your tongue out. Okay, but what about the 7th? I'm literally saying this like, what's gonna happen when we get to 6 or 7? And they do it in such a comedic way. It's the element of humor that I think keeps a show like this from growing dry or boring. Like I said, I liked a show like Mars Red, and in a way, this kind of has a similar vibe going for it in different ways. But I like the fact that a show like this has a back and forth banter between its cast that lets it have a fun vibe that you really don't know where we're going. Most shows, when we're starting off saying that we're gonna go locate a severed head with her body, and a man who's dying and becoming corrupted from his power, would take itself extra serious because that should be a serious plotline. Yet episode 2 rolls in and we're trying to scam the cart driver out of his money, and then we end the episode arguing about how we're going to hold up 7 fingers because he's holding the birdcage. This show in a way doesn't take itself seriously, but where it does is how the world, and I think we're going to have a lot of interesting stories with humans versus monster rights, given the fact that reporters are visibly concerned, why should we trust a vampire for not drinking blood? It's this interesting monster universe, and I forget what it was. I think it might have been Universal, but at one point, like when the MCU was starting to kick off, everyone was trying to make their cinematic universes. They were trying to make like this dark universe with all different monsters, and it failed miserably. Like they had to cancel it just because no one gave a shit about it. In a weird way, I kind of feel like Undead Murder Farce is about to be the monster universe that like these big studios wanted to make, because while I don't know how far they'll push it, I mean, gargoyles may not come to life in this show, but they might. We might have werewolves. We might have swamp monsters. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I like the fact that you can still have moments where I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me that vampires are actually shocked and visibly scared that a severed head can talk to them alive. If that scares them, what the hell is truly going on in this world, and how far are they going to push the creativity of this one? Because I feel like it has a lot of potential. Either way, I think this is fantastic. I hope I can keep covering it. I feel like this one's going to get heavily slept on, which a lot of shows recently are, and it does disappoint me because I love to talk about the fresh ones. So let me know if you want to see me keep covering this one, and hopefully we can. So let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to today's wonderful episode available on my Patreon. No matter what, we will be covering it over there on Patreon every single week, so consider supporting, and while you're there, you'll also get a video shout out. So today we have Jose, Azope, Benjamin Margolis, and FCCL. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.